from you, and sir, you, considering the importance of millet, sir, you declared in 2018 as a nutri cereals, and then you have added our NFSN program and several initiatives are under your leadership we started. And sir, now we are following that. Sir, from Niti side, sir, we have signed a SOI, Statement of Intent, with World Food Program to promote the millet. And sir, you are already aware that two tasks were assigned to Niti Aayog when you were there by the Cabinet Secretary. And one is that policy framework for the promotion of millets and to also to inclusion of the good practices. So therefore, sir, mapping and exchange of good practices, this initiative was started, and we have developed one simple portal in Niti Aayog side. So all the people, even entrepreneurs, startups, agriculture research organizations, and NGOs, they all can submit their entries, and we had now one jury to judge the best one. And then, sir, after selecting the best one, to see their potential, to scale them it up, we will prepare a compendium and also the one, sir, knowledge platform. So, sir, whether there we would like to have you with us because of the ICRISAT presence in Asia and African countries. So, sir, this is the that initiative that today we are going to discuss that web portal and the entry, how our other scientists of the ICRISAT officers can send their entries so that we will be able to combine those and one best compendium will be come out and that will be used in the our knowledge platform. So, sir, in the after doing this discussion, that we are doing in series. Already we have completed with the states. Now today we are going with ICRISAT, and sir, next week we are going to have with the different ICR institutes and agriculture university, those who are working in millets. And then we will have the best practices, we will combine them. And the second phase, we will develop the knowledge platform. In the knowledge platform, all these stories about the millets, whether it is good recipe, good variety, good production technology, everything, we will add that in our knowledge platform. So, sir, I welcome you particularly and congratulate you, sir, in your new positions and new role that is much bigger than that as a secretary that you had here. So, sir, I'm very happy to work again under your supervision, under your guidance, and I'm confident that something will come out well once you are there. And I also would like to welcome all the officers of the ICRISAT from the different offices for attending this meeting. Sir, after your keynote address, Pradanya will speak some on climate resilient initiative, and also then we are having two presentations from one is from Pranay and one from Saloni about the initiatives. So this is the program, and part two in 2 hours we are going to make the presentation like this. So, sir, with this, sir, thank you, sir. Thanks for accepting our invitation and to be the part of this discussion and also for delivering the keynote address. Sir, we are eager to hear you. That is why I have not touched anything. Sir, we will hear from you and then we will move further. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Neelam. Before I say something, maybe the NIC team may check because quite a few people are sending messages. It is not audible. They can make it clear. They have to go to the settings. Somebody from NIC team can clarify to the people. The 3-4 chat messages are there. They cannot hear.
Yes, sir, we are checking it. Asuji, that they are not getting
And you may guide them what to do in the settings. Maybe their settings are not okay. Okay, they can hear now.
Yes, sir, now, yes, they can hear now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Neelam, for this opportunity. And Dr. Neelam Patel, Dr. Pranay, Dr. Pradanya, Dr. Saloni, and this is the first time I'm addressing to large number of my ICRISAT officials in Africa, friends, partner institutions in Asia and Africa, and everybody. And Neelam, I can say with what you said about me, Niti Aayog have been very proactive in different things, especially partnering with not only Ministry of Agriculture, doing good things for the agriculture, may it be national farming, may it be millets mission, and the innovation which comes from Niti Aayog is really worth complimenting. And I'm confident that with your initiative and your leadership, things will move ahead. And WFP partnering with this thing, I'd like to gratitude to WFP for partnering with Niti Aayog for this important initiative. More important because India was a leader in terms of moving that resolution to FAO from 18, the full process I have seen, then to the UN where support of 70 countries came in. So ultimately, it becomes a great responsibility for the host country, for India, to move forward and ensure that things move in the right direction. And this opportunity of international millets is an opportunity where millets is not grown by the farmers as a compulsion crop because they don't have any alternative, but it becomes a choice crop for the farmers to grow. And for that, we have to do a certain income level and other aspects, and it goes to the food plates. I have been asked to speak on the international perspective today, and about the millets, I will confine myself to that perspective. But this initiative of good practices, compendium, knowledge thing, ultimately helps a lot of learning and mutual learning. As you are all aware, that micronutrient malnutrition, along with climate change, is one of the most greatest global challenge of our times. Agriculture and nutrition are interactively connected, and the flow of nutrition from soils to plants to human greatly influence the nutrition and the health of the communities. Among staples, nutritional millets are gift, nature's gift to mankind, and lots need to be done. And during this year opportunity, I'm confident all the stakeholders, made the field units of different organizations, state government, private partners, and will work towards moving and ensuring let's go to the plate. In terms of global scenario, millets crops are mainly grown in tropical, subtropical, and slightly temperate regions of the world, with Asia and Africa accounting for the major both production and consumption centers. These crops also originate in these continents and domesticated in other parts of the countries. In terms of crop, if we see, I think sorghum and porso millets are the most widespread cultivated. And I've been told that sorghum is cultivated in around 125 countries. And then the porso millet, the common millets, are grown in 35 countries. This part, as per FAO statistics of 2009. As you are all aware that global production is also a large production for millets. In terms of figure, if we take the mean of 2015 to 19, the production has been 97.75 million ton, which is huge. And the area covered is also a large area with 78.4 million hectares. And with the average productivity, if we see all the millets combined, would be 1247 kg per hectare. So large number of farmers are involved in this thing, large number of areas involved in this thing, and ultimately technology reaching the millets become very important for reaching this thing. What ICRISAT is doing at international level, ICRISAT jointly with FAO and the WFP, which partner is here, is spreading the promotion of millets, their consumption and recipes in food preparations, advances in varietal development, crop management technologies with emphasis on production, storage and transportation, processing value addition, packaging and branding, distribution and consumption. DG ICRISAT is also part of the global committee. She is the vice chairman of the global committee of the FAO, which is the planning international events and different aspects. And India chairs that committee, as you are all aware, because India being the host country is supposed to chair this thing. At the national level, you are aware, ICRISAT is always willing to partner with Niti Aayog and state governments, CBBOs, private sector, and we have large number of programs we planned at the ICRISAT with the partnership with the Government of India, Ministry of Agriculture. And I believe Ministry of Agriculture is considering ICRISAT as knowledge partner for celebration of different aspects for this thing. As it moves ahead, things will move in a better phase. Success stories of from India in terms of millets value chain, processing, entrepreneurship development can be transferred to Africa and the South-South collaboration. And I'll inform that there's a consideration and there's a proposal being under consideration between Ministry of Agriculture and ICRISAT to organize a big event in Africa in maybe the third quarter of 2023, where the good practices can be shared. And in that, this compendium of the good practices that Nithya is preparing and all these components will be very helpful, where we intend to take all the technologies to that area. ICRISAT-led initiatives, distribution of global millet germplasm session, development of biofortified varieties of hybrid, mainstreaming of nutrition into crop breeding are first of the kind success stories. In addition, policy decisions for fixing minimum standards for nutrient levels at varietal releases and development of empirical evidence for health benefits are the major efforts being undertaken right now. ICRISAT operates in all major millets growing countries and different regions. And ICRISAT has created a Bill Melinda Foundation, a big project for 11 countries in Asia, Africa. And ICRISAT compiled the good practices, good learnings from this project, which we have told the ICRISAT team to share with Niti Aayog so they can become part of the compendium as well. Important highlights would be how the Institute of Rainwater Conservation, improve variety, seed treatment, line sowing, seed drills, input side technology helps this thing. This was deployed and yield gains of 35% and stover yields of 25% more in more than 300,000 farmers' fields. So that success story is everything. That compendium and Africa partners, other officers there. I think that should become part of the paper from the side. Innovative seed consortia established where public seed corporations gave buyback guarantee to seed farmers, and the farmers got 20% higher price of the seed. Right? Last 9 years, this model is working and producing 3,000 tons of seed every year, reaching to 300,000 farmers in that area. And this practices can come in different aspects. Farmers have been trained in terms of drying of grains, cleaning and graining supply, and this added up, as per the reports, a more price to 10 to 15% of produce because of lack of wastage and other things. How to encourage small scale entrepreneurs for producing millets? Those success stories are there, and under which different type of ready-made products like duff stage preparation were prepared, pasta, laddu, dry rotis were prepared, and infinite dry. These went to Australia and Middle East countries. These success stories will have to share the part of the thing. Biofortified pearl millets, Dhan Shakti, hybrids of iron construction 750 ppm more have been developed, and this is a good practices which came out of this project. And with the help of nutritionists, National Institute of Nutrition especially is there in India, and medical doctors through designing school feeding programs and develop the evidences of benefit of millet food consumption of the growing of health good children is also there as a knowledge repository in the ICRISAT, which we like to share as a part of this thing. Millet flour blends have become very popular in Kenya. The sorghum millet flour is blended with wheat or maize flour in fixed proportion as per the local regulation and is to provide improved nutrition, climate resilience. So large number of success stories, especially involving FPOs and creation of FPOs, especially in India. Those aspects should be as included as a part of this compendium. Millet mainstreaming is very important, especially in ICRISAT and mainstream nutrition into millets, into breeding pipelines for improved lines as assessed for nutrient content before they advise next level. For all the millets, they have developed targeted product profiles. Their novel germplasm sources have been identified. High throughput screening techniques are developed for assessing nutrition quality of breeding program. Standards established for maintaining nutrient content of food products shared with secondary processors. And ICRISAT is also working with and providing technical backstopping to National Provision Millets Mission to take innovation to larger public and focal point identified to cater need. ICRISAT has also developed a multi-stakeholder partnership with policy bodies and different bodies and empowering tribal women especially for millets production. With presence in 8 countries in Africa and extensive presence in across 34 countries in Western and Central Africa, Eastern Southern Africa, ICRISAT along with its partners is working to build sustainable millet value chain in Africa, improve germplasm shared, crop networks, group established, and capacity R&D enhanced to build a strong public sector-led breeding pipelines have resulted in delivery of improved products with market-preferred traits that fit in various cropping seasons. Towards building sustainable millet value chain in Africa, ICRISAT partners are working to, number 1, scale nutrition millet technology. Also, number 2, innovation, systems analysis, and strategic demand creation for food system transformation. Number 3, strengthen post-harvest value chains, especially working with FPOs, MSMEs, and other partners, and elevate awareness through digital tools. So basically, multi-institutional, multidisciplinary, and all these approaches and coordinating approaches is required. I am confident and hopeful and appeal to all the attendees and all the officials of ICRISAT who are in Africa. Please identify the right partners who have done these good practices, which are there as a part of the role. And if these good practices are shared as part of the compendium, the details will be shared as a part of the webinar. They will really help all the millet farmers and especially the processors and value chain providers who are working in these lines. And ultimately, when we say 30% production gains of price enhancement comes in, and through the efforts of the officials there and on the partners who are participating in the webinar, all these good practices are shared with all the person. Our contribution in terms of property elevation, income enhancement of the farmers is really added. I wish that, I assure you on behalf of ICRISAT Neelam and your team and WFP that apart from the webinar, we'll pursue with our officials there to ensure that nomination does come in and different practices are shared as a part of the platform. And again, compliment you, Neelam, for this initiative, which is a long way, and this will become a very great resource and a good compendium for the International Millets of 2023. Thank you and all the good wishes.
Thank you, sir, for a very thought-provoking keynote address. And sir, as usual, sir, we have learned so many things. And I think, sir, ICRISAT can become really partner with WFP and NITI Aayog for millets mainstreaming. Sir, already we have written to our foreign secretary, and letter has been gone from our CEO to foreign secretary to rope in all our embassies in Asia and Africa and in other countries also for the millets promotion. So, sir, they have agreed in principle to work with us, in particular in this mission. And, sir, thank you, sir, and thanks for your keynote address and addressing the various things, various practices. Sir, ICRISAT is the leader. All people are aware. So, all the experience that ICRISAT have gained in Africa and South Asian countries can be the main technologies for the other countries to adopt it directly without reinventing the wheel again, start from the zero. We can scale it up on the basis of the experiences of the ICRISAT. So thank you, sir. With this, now we would like to move to Pradanya ji. No? Pradanya ji, are your address, and
Sure.
then Pranay will make the presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's my honor, I must say that after listening to Mr. Agrawal, as usual, with his very thoughtful and thought-provoking address. First of all, I must say that, I mean, Government of India has taken the global leadership already to harness the full potential of millets. And as we all know that under able leadership of Mr. Agrawal, this resolution was passed in the General Assembly unanimously and adopted by about 70 countries to celebrate 2023 as International Year of Millets. And as we all know that this is a great example of Indian leadership at international fora for popularizing locally and of course globally. So we all know that millets are not something new to the societies across the world, especially in Asia and Africa. This ancient crop has been forgotten for last few decades, but there is an increased recognition that millets were the first crops, and millets are also the future crops. Specifically because of the multiple benefits that millets offer. Uh, One of the major challenges, or rather two most serious challenges that the world is facing today are climate change and food security or food insecurity. So, which in fact results in the malnutrition, the micronutrient malnutrition, which was referred to by Mr. Agrawal. So increasing population pressure and changing the dietary patterns also put pressure on food systems across the globe. And with the significantly rising climate fragilities on the top of it, the projected impact of pandemics such as COVID-19 on food security and nutrition, it seems that achieving the 2030 goal of zero hunger is really difficult. And we know that more intense and frequent disasters are experienced by the world today, which in fact again poses a lot of challenge on overall sustainable food systems and food security for all, which is the goal of 2030 targets. However, what is really thought as is millet holds a bit of solution to this. And as I said, WFP is committed to sustainable food security and nutrition for all, which is becoming challenging in the changing climate. And as you know that WFP has been working in partnership with Government of India for more than 50 years, and WFP works across the world in all climate fragile or disaster scenarios as well as development scenarios, works closely with the government across more than 80 countries around the globe, and it contributes largely to the efforts to achieve sustainable food and nutrition security under all circumstances. So WFP has entered into a 5-year partnership with Niti Aayog, the agriculture and allied sector vertical, to strengthen the climate resilient agriculture for enhanced food and nutrition security in India, with specific focus on millet mainstreaming and enhanced India's leadership towards the same. WFP and Niti Aayog have together, as we all know, have launched in July this MEGP initiative, and it aims at mapping the exchange of good practices for millet mainstreaming in India. In fact, as was suggested, that this documentation of good practices and lessons will also present an opportunity for of experience sharing among Asian and African developing countries. And as I said, that there is an immense opportunity for playing that leadership role. And of course, ICRISAT is one of the most prominent and important partner. And we actually count a lot on you colleagues who have joined. So this mapping of demand of these countries in Asia and Africa across millet value chain is something which is also very important, so that there is a potential to facilitate South-South knowledge exchange and customize the capacity building efforts on millet mainstreaming. If we talk a bit more about the challenges that the world faces today, we know that the global temperature continues to rise and distort the weather patterns. Extreme events, we already said that they are on the rise, and these events are hampering food and nutrition security, especially of smallholder farmers. In this context, the millets, often termed as nutri-cereals, and we all have now become quite aware about this cereal because of the nutritional advantages and also biofortification, which additionally is happening with these millets. This contributes substantially to also what is called as millets as the crops for future, because it is a climate smart crop, which is much more robust than some of the other crops in terms of the resilience or tolerance to the temperature variations or the requirement of fertilizers and irrigation, etc. So from that perspective, billets definitely has a lot of benefits to offer, and this actually can create a kind of win-win proposition. So from the perspective of benefits, if we want to really list those, the first and foremost comes as the food security as a sustainable food source, combating hunger, which is better and of course offering better growth and productivity. Climate resilience is again one of the very important benefits of millets, which is it is resistant to climatic stress, pests and diseases, low nutrient input requirement. It also, in a way, contributes to economic security because of the low investment needs for the production. Nutritional security, we already talked about. It is rich in micronutrients, rich in bioactive components, and better amino acid profile. And last but not the least is safety from the disease. So, which is also an important aspect that can be looked as a benefit of the millets. So now if we look at, if we want to really mainstream the millets, it is very important to also look at the critical challenges that in fact are there And unless those challenges are really addressed, we probably will not be able to achieve the results that we really want to. And the challenges are not only on supply side, but they are also on demand side. And unless we have a kind of balance of both demand and supply side kind of challenges, it is a kind of, I would say, an imperative to really address those both, not just the production related, but also the demand side, the eating habits, the food baskets, the value addition, and working across the value chain thus becomes extremely important when we are talking about mainstreaming the millets. So, in fact, what we have come across while we were talking with some of the states and some of the countries, that there are a lot of good practices. A lot of people are working with many innovative solutions. For example, even if we talk about mechanization, even if we talk about processing, the usual processing machines for, let's say, rice and wheat are uh, not they cannot be used for millets because of its smaller grain size. But then people are coming up with some solutions, some smaller solutions, some larger solution across the value chain, some solutions which are in fact already scaled up internationally, and some solutions which are really providing a very critical input and solution to the local problem and local context. So this attempt is basically to really look at these various solutions, maybe the local or maybe the global, and map the demand of the countries. So we are actually organizing series of consultations, as was stated here. And why these consultations? Basically to really galvanize, create a kind of I would say, inspire people, motivate people, and create a environment that enables to really put across those thoughts, facilitate the cross learning, have discussions, deliberations, and then actually join hands in really promoting this, play the leadership role as a kind of government of India, support those and contribute to those efforts in taking the initiative forward. And of course, I mean, through the mechanism which Dr. Neelam mentioned about involving the South-South cooperation with the Ministry of External Affairs, and also the South-South and triangular cooperation pathways, which in fact can offer a policy choice for mutual collaboration through study visits, expert deployment, what was discussed as a kind of the large scale workshops, the demonstrations, peer coaching networks, technologies, and knowledge transfer, capacity building, and policy dialogues. So we are really thankful and very happy to be part of this initiative, and ICRISAT, of course, with the depth of knowledge as well as the spread and in the work in the area, is a well-known, important, strategic as well as technical partner. And who else can really help better in reaching out to multiple countries and having built those kind of constructs and networks. So we really look forward today to share, of course, the details of the process which is envisaged, but seek support in taking this initiative forward. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, and really look forward. We already, as I said, that we already have a partnership with ICRISAT, which is around the same, the climate resilience as well as millets mainstreaming. And so we are keen to really take these efforts forward together in collaboration with Niti Aayog, under the leadership of Niti Aayog, and uh, uh, contribute wherever possible in our best capacities. So thank you so much, and back to you, Dr. Neelam. Thank you so much, everyone. Look forward to listening from you.
Thank you, Pradanya. Now I think it's time to start the presentation by the Pranay. Pranay ji, you can make the presentation, and I would like to request to all the delegates, officers, kindly have a discussion while the presentation, and you can raise your hand so that we will unmute from here. Otherwise, you can also leave the question in the chat box. But you can have the interaction with the trainer during the presentation. So now we are going to have 2 scheduled presentation in a row. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Can we shift to PowerPoint, please? So I hope I am audible, and thanks a lot for our keynote speaker from ICRISAT, ex-Agriculture Secretary from Government of India, and Madam Pradanya from our WFP New Delhi office. So both the deliberations have given a very comprehensive overview of why millets have become a crop of choice, not only in India, but across Africa and Asia. And because of its historical importance, current relevance, and because we are in 2022 and we are running up to the event where we are going to celebrate 2023 as International Year of Millets, all the possible pathways have been discussed by both the speakers. So I would not go into the overview, but would straight come to the details of this initiative. This initiative is a component of Niti Aayog's partnership with WFP to support climate resilient practices for improved food and nutrition security. Next, please. And you could see that the first phase of this activity has been kickstarted by launching the mapping and exchange of good practices, inviting entries from Asia and Africa around millets mainstreaming. And this compendium of good practices across millet value chain is going to be complemented by our own consultations with the state governments in India and line ministries to prepare a scaling up strategy. So in order to do so, for the development of a compendium of good practices and millet mainstreaming in Asia and Africa, we would like to give you a timeline. On 19th of July, our Honorable Vice Chairman Niti Aayog, he has announced the launch of MEGP initiative and the applications were invited. Between 25th of July and 18th of September, we have been organizing a series of national workshops. So in this workshop, as Madam Dr. Patel mentioned, that we have organized the state level consultations with all the 35 state governments in India and union territories. We also had close consultation with our Ministry of Rural Development, and through them the National Rural Livelihood Missions across all the states have been consulted. We have also organized national workshop with Ministry of Food Processing and Industries for all our one product districts, specially dedicated to millets. And today's workshop is hosted with ICRISAT, Niti Aayog, and World Food Programme to sensitize our ICRISAT partner institutions, ICRISAT regional officers, and all their partner institutions in Asia and Africa. So thanks a lot and welcome you all once again. The last date for the submission of this application is 18th of September. By 15th of October, we will be shortlisting approximately 10 entries in each category, which we are going to show you in a bit. And by 30th of October, we are going to announce the winners. By the end of November, we are going to organize international or regional conferences for the launch of Good Practices Compendium. And finally, by the end of December, we will be establishing our own knowledge management and networking platform, and we are ready for the year 2023. I would like to briefly show you our conceptual framework on millets mainstreaming. The millets value chain and its different stages form, and 6 different stages form the core of that. The production, storage and transportation, processing, packaging and branding, and distribution, and finally consumption. So these are the 6 different components which we have identified, which forms the core of millet value chain.
लाइट चली गई ना चल रहा है
Streaming is going on.
Okay, fine. So this form the core of the millets value chain, and we have 5 dimensions on mainstreaming, which are institutional commitment and coordination, sustainable and innovative financing, multi-stakeholder partnership, enabling environment for enhanced production and inclusion in safety nets, and finally, gender and inclusion. So these are the 5 dimensions where mainstreaming dimensions where we say there are dimensions of additionality, where normally other than the activity and interplay of various value chain actors, there is an additionality being trusted by the government stakeholder and other like-minded institutions. So that's why we are terming this as a millet mainstreaming to the food value chain. We are having power issue, so I could not see the. Can someone confirm on the screen whether you could see the millet value chains in different dimensions?
So, Pranay, now we are seeing state questionnaire on millets.
State questionnaire, okay. So now you can see, Pradanya, could you confirm the millet value chain matrix, and on the right hand side, the
Yep, the production.
Thanks. So, okay, I was little blind because I could not see the screen, but thanks a lot. So we will not go into the details of each and every question because we know, just as a backgrounder, we have identified 4 indicators on the dimension which I just mentioned. So on the production side, we have 4 dimensions. Storage and transportation side, we have 4 dimensions, and so on and so forth. So for the millets value chain, we have 6 into 4, 24 different sub dimensions where we are exploring and scouting the good practices being undertaken by various stakeholders. And when I was listening to our ex-agriculture secretary, his keynote actually was impinging on each and every of these variables. And also, Madam Pradanya, when mentioned about the millet mainstreaming and various value propositions, well, like covering an interplay of all of these dimensions. So, what I would say on the production side, there have been various initiatives undertaken in terms of dedicated agricultural research and extension. There have been multiple participatory trial field day conducted, which has advanced our own agricultural research understanding, and also which have been improving the agronomic practices. So we would like to see how this agricultural research and extension are contributing to the improved production and agronomic practices. Also, as Sir was mentioning, approximately 3,500 smallholders were benefited in that pilot. So, option of improved agronomic practices for enhanced productivity and also capacity building in terms of adoption of various improved agronomic practices. For instance, system of millet intensification, line transplantation in millets, and line sowing, including intercropping in millets. So, how are these different uh, agronomic practices have been implemented and scaled up, piloted in various parts of Africa and Asia? Also, the farm inputs and farm mechanization. So, are there any specific provisions of an establishment of decentralized seed system, community seed centers, and also in terms of mechanization, in terms of establishment of custom hiring centers and provision of other farm inputs? In terms of irrigational infrastructure, how the different irrigational infrastructure have been supported or have they been provisioned? Every country and every geography would be having very distinct practices And at the same time, they might be having various different pathways of success. The crops could be different, the variety could be different, there could be local variety, there could be improvised variety. So we'd like to see how different storage infrastructure, post-harvest handling, shelf-life, and at the same time handling and transportation cost in terms of storage and transportation dimension have contributed to the enhancement of millet value chain. Are there new technologies which have been included? Are there any hygiene standards or effective storage which has been introduced? On the processing side, we are having multiple stages. During the harvesting stage, are there any financial support provided to the block level enterprises in terms of provision of dehullers, cleaner, grader, destoner, pressure pump puller, etc.? Also, are there any grading guidelines that have been established to support this millet value chain? Are there any initiatives dedicated to processing of minor millets? And are there any effort for technology diffusion in the millet processing industry? So these are various dimensions and the corresponding areas where you could have your case studies. On the packaging and branding side, Dr. Agarwal mentioned that there have been instances when the products have been exported from one country to another country, and mostly other than its production and storage and transportation, there is a big role played in the packaging and branding as well. So, is there any effort for nutritional labeling influencing food preferences? Are there any dedicated support for FPOs or aggregators for packaging and branding of millet products? And are there full potential harnessed in domestic and international markets? Are there any support for organic certification for better price realization, and whether any branded logo have been introduced? On the distribution side, are there any hand-holding support being provided to community-based organizations like FPOs, SGUs, SSGs, and are there any matchmaking support for different stakeholders in the marketing value chain? The support for millet export and market linkages. So last but not the least, on the consumption side, whether there have been any dedicated strategy to increase the household consumption of millets. Are there any awareness materials prepared for campaigns to increase awareness of household consumption? Provision of startup capital for setting up management of kiosks and mobile outlet or farmer sales outlet. So you could see these are just the pointers, but please feel free if your case stories or success story doesn't fall into any of those categories, but it broadly falls under the broader dimension, which are production, storage and transportation, processing, packaging and branding, distribution and consumption. Now we would like to take you to the next slide where we are delving on the millet mainstreaming dimensions. As you could see, there are 5 dimensions. On the first dimension, institutional commitment and coordination. There have been multiple policy advisory committees which have been established. And
Pranay, I think the slides are not moving. Should I share and coordinate with your thing? So if you stop sharing, probably I can do that.
yes, that's fine. One second, Pradunya, there was an issue in the power failure.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I'm saying.
so my remote control is not working, but our colleague is helping us. Can you see the mainstreaming dimensions, Pradunya, please confirm?
So we are still at slide number, which is millet mainstreaming. It shows a table and
On the left-hand side, is it the mainstreaming dimension or the millet
So-
value chain?
see, I think we are still stuck at the beginning slide.
Okay, one second, please. Thank you. I think now we are seeing a matrix on the left-hand side, the millets mainstreaming matrix, and on the right-hand side, the millet value chain.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks to Danya for. So on the institutional commitment and coordination sub-dimension, the four areas which we are interested in understanding the various initiatives in different countries. Is there any policy advisory committee which is overseeing the implementation of millet-based projects? Are there any dedicated millet mission supported by a secretariat if it has been in any of the line ministries or in the state governments in a country? Are there dedicated financial and human resources? Are there any convergence happening between the line departments or line ministries? So for instance, Ministry of Agriculture or Department of Agriculture at the federal level would also be having convergence activities with their planning department or their finance department or their Department of Food and Public Distribution. So two countries have more than one or two line departments converging for the millet mainstreaming initiatives. On the sustainable and innovative financing dimension, we all know there are various roles played by state government and central governments, but beyond the state government and central government financial exchequer, there have been multiple agencies and multiple sources of finances other than government also. So we would like to see to what extent the state government or central governments have allocated any budget. Are there availability of millet mainstreaming budgets to different line department or agencies other than agriculture department? Are there annual plans for spending and are there budget actually spent? And finally, the sources of finances other than state or central government. For instance, in India, we have a fund in every district where the mining activities are happening. These are independent sources of finances, and the head of the district is empowered enough to tail that fund with any of the initiatives in the state or in the district. So in multiple districts in India, the head of the district, which is the deputy collector, has generated that finance and provisioning those finances for the inclusion of millets in social safety nets. So this is one of the good practices emerging from various districts in India. On the multi-stakeholder partnership side, the engagement with the non-governmental organizations, with the research institutes like ICRISAT, partnership with corporates, startups, agri-incubators, partnership with self-help groups, farmer producer organizations, primary agricultural cooperative society, and also information sharing on various lessons learned. So to set an example, the government of India has been encouraging partnership with various entities, and a day or two day before, our honorable finance minister has announced to explore the partnership with the startups of identifying good practices for the startups, those who are engaged in various aspects of millet ecosystem. Also, Government of India, through its own incubator, has supported various agri-incubators. For instance, Indian Institute of Millet Research, our institution of premier institution, is engaged in incubating those millet-based enterprises, have incubated more than 300 or 350 enterprises. There have been multiple corporates, those whose product lines are aligned with nutri-cereal and providing end-to-end supply chain. The state governments and central government are engaging with private entities for the procurement of those millets and making it available through their online or offline platform. For instance, last month we have ended up having a partnership with Walmart. So there are different roles played by different stakeholder, and as we mentioned, that the millet is a converging theme and it provides a win-win for all proposition for all the stakeholders. On the enabling environment dimension, we would like to see how is there any incentive provided to the smallholders for adoption of improved agronomic practices for millets. For instance, India through its NFSM submission on nutri cereals are providing 3-year incentive for farmers to adopt improved agronomic practices. The state governments are also topping up on that and have been providing those incentives. At the same time, are there any dedicated procurement system which has been established? So Indian government has established a very functional and vibrant procurement system for its wheat and paddy, and it has been functional for more than 4 decades. So in the changing realm, are those procurement systems being used to procure millets, or are there any dedicated procurement system established for the millet? Various state governments and central government directives are indicating that there are MSPs for the major millets. Various state governments have introduced MSP for the minor millets and have done pilot programs to include that. So we would like to see how any minimum support price have been announced or implemented in the countries in Africa and Asia. And finally, on the inclusion and distribution of millets in food distribution and supplementary nutrition programs. Last but not the least, we would like to see developments on the gender inclusion dimension. To what extent there have been positive engagement with marginalized groups like tribal community and women? To what extent the drudgery reduction has been addressed for the women? How the participation of landless and tenant farmers are being ensured? And finally, the provision of specialist HR cadre like community resource person to provide last mile services. So these are 5 into 4, 20 mainstreaming sub-dimensions, and we would like to see entries coming from these dimensions. So with this framework, without taking much time, may I invite our colleague Dr. Saloni Bhutani to give us perspective on the MEGP submission process.
Thank you so much, sir.
Would you like to share screen, Saloni?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. इसको बता दीजिए, Saloni.
Yes, sir. I hope my screen is visible, sir.
Not yet, Saloni.
Saloni, do you have presentation where you would run us through the MEGP?
Sir, I will straight away take to the app, web portal, sir.
Okay, then please wait. Let me please wait. Let me give them the category and PPT, which we have the 3 or 4 slides which we prepared, and then you could demonstrate them.
Okay, sure, sir. So you can continue. I mean, I can speak on these slides.
Yes, please, Saloni, go ahead.
Yeah. A very good afternoon, everyone. Like my partner, Mr. Pranay Sinha, has already given a brief of the MEGP initiative for millets mainstreaming in Asia and Africa. I would just briefly give the 2 components of the MEGP initiative. One is to the number 1 aim is to map and exchange the good practices for millets mainstreaming in India, and the second one is to develop a scaling up strategy. So this compendium is basically going to help this compendium is basically going to help us everybody is learn from each other, and it is expected to make it easier for the government, both in India as well as abroad, to understand what it takes to have a good policy, learn from each other and replicate, and trigger informed decisions if they wish to scale up or replicate a good practice. So the other advantages of this initiative include that it is expected to unlock various South-South cooperation and South-South and triangular cooperation pathways, and offer a policy choice of mutual collaboration through study visits, expert deployment, peer coaching networks, policy dialogues, etc. Sir, can you please, it's basically the whole aim is to build capacity and help in knowledge transfer. Now the eligibility criteria for this initiative is, sir, you can move to the next slide, please. The eligibility, the whole, we are inviting categories in, we are inviting applications in 3 categories. Number 1 is the millet value chain, number 2 is the mainstreaming dimension, and number 3 is a dedicated category on millet recipes. Now in the millet value chain, there are 6 components. A good practice could be from any of these 6 components. Number 1 being production, or number 2 being storage and transportation, number 3 being processing, number 4 being packaging and branding, and number 5 being distribution, and number 6 being consumption. And the mainstreaming dimension similarly has 5 components. A good practice could be either in institutional commitment and coordination, multi-stakeholder partnership, sustainable and innovative financing, gender and inclusion, and enabling environment for safety nets inclusion. Now there's a special dedicated category on millet recipes, where we have the whole aim of keeping this dedicated category was that we wanted to create an enhanced knowledge awareness on cooking recipes related to millets. Like, we all of knowledge, especially in urban areas and the current generation, as to regarding the cooking of millets. So this category is going to create awareness on traditional recipes, which is which is the need of the hour. The whole obviously it is going to help capture the forgotten practices, particularly in the traditional and indigenous community, and such applications are very appreciated. Over here, I would like to bring your attention to the fact that millet is a crop which is primarily known to be a woman's crop. A woman's role is considered to be very important in not just cultivating millet, but also in its processing and packaging, branding, and even in the cooking. So and the millet crop is also primarily grown in tribal areas. It is way more popular in tribal areas and rural areas. So by promoting millets through our MEGP initiative, we are in a way addressing the whole gender and inclusion aspect, and helping in, and any good, and we would be more than happy to feature any good practice which is helping in upliftment of these marginalized communities from tribal areas, and addressing the addressing the whole issue of empowerment of women. Now we can move to the next slide, please. Coming to the eligibility criteria, any developing country from Asia and Africa is more than welcome to submit their good practices on our portal. Any individual or organization from a government or non-government organization, multilateral or bilateral agency, FPO, self-help group, primary agriculture cooperative societies or cooperatives, industry, private sector startups, individuals, farmers, a household level, individual, anybody can apply. Just a minor red flag here, that any sort of practice which is at a very conceptual stage, and not and it is not much has been done in it to be called concrete, such solutions at conceptual stage will not be considered eligible. I can move to the next slide, please. Coming to the benefits expected from this initiative, the participants can expect access to bridge initiatives like back supporting the millet startups, and access to regional platforms for learning dissemination, access to networking platforms, including donors, innovation labs, research institutes, government departments, etc., linkages with government departments for potential scale up, and publication support. Next slide, please. The whole evaluation criteria is that we have a jury formed, which is going to help us select entries, the top 10 entries in each category, and we appreciate any good practice which is innovative, practical, addresses the gender and inclusion aspect, has generated an impact, and is sustainable, is considered to be a very good fit. Next slide, sir. Uh, like I told, categories, our jury chair, members, and member secretaries are given in the slide. We have Ms. Shubha Thakur, Joint Secretary from Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. We have Dr. Sridevi Annapurna Singh, Dr. Vilas Tanopiji, Ms. Joanna Ken Potaka, Madam. And member secretaries include Dr. Neelam Patel and Ms. Pradanya Pethankar. Next slide, please. So this link is basically the link to our web portal, which has been shared over the email communication. And I would now like to straight away take you to. I would now like to share my screen and. Sir, I need permission for that. It's saying we can't display your shared content. Make sure that you have allowed permission to share content and then try again. Yes, sir. So somebody in the chat box, Mr. S.K. Gupta is asking, can one enter same good practice under millet value chain as well as in millet mainstreaming dimension to enhance the chances of selection? No, sir. Actually, you have to select one category. If for one good practice, you can submit multiple good practices. But if it is just one good practice, you have to select whether it is under millet value chain or in mainstreaming dimension. Under millet value chain, you can select as many categories as possible, which are the production, consumption, distribution, processing, etc. There's a checkbox, so you can select that. And same for mainstreaming dimension. Sir, it still says that. Just a second. We can't display your shared content. Make sure that you have allowed permission. Is my screen visible?
It's not.
Okay.
So do we do from here, Saloni?
So, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. That would be nice.
Okay. So Parimal is helping. No problem.
In the meanwhile, there are a lot of comments and questions coming in the chat box. Yes, sir, sorghum is included here as a millet, and we have Miss Joanna from ICRISAT in the juries. So this is what the web portal.
Saloni, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now you can, yeah, Parimal is running from here, so from there.
Okay. Pranay sir, I think you will have to fill in the login details.
So Pranay is coming.
Yes.
Parimal, leave that. Pranay, you explain one by one.
Am I audible, Saloni?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me take this from here because there is a lot of things which needs to be done on the laptop. So I am taking on from here with Madam's permission.
Okay, sure, sir.
Thank you. So we have entered this agri.niti.gov.in/MEGP 2022. The details are there, and we will circulate it once again. And here you could see the details about our initiatives. So as we mentioned earlier, that we launched this on the 19th of July. So you could see it was live streamed then, and the link could be seen here. And also the details, the concept note, English and Hindi, and millet mainstreaming framework we just demonstrated. Our mobile number, phone number, and email IDs are here. So in case of any difficulty, you could reach out to either me or to Ms. Saloni. So now what we would do, there are two, first you need to register yourself. So you could register yourself by having your ongoing email ID and a CAPTCHA code, and then you could receive the password on your email. So we are not going to do so. We have already done so many times. So what we are going to do is, yes, sir, Dr. Datta, this will be taken care by when we will be having this discussion with Madam Neelam. Password. So we will be taking the password which we have created of our own. And now we will log in. So after login, you could see there are 4 or 5 distinct sections. One on the geographical details, second on the application details, the third on the basic details, and the fourth on the attachment, and finally the form submission unique identifiers.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
stop sharing and share it again. Maybe equal stars.
Screen share. Yes.
Now ask. They can see. Can you see now?
Thank you. So let me do it once again. I was explaining, but I didn't realize that the screen was not visible. So you could see about the initiative. You have to go into agri.niti.gov.in. The link has been shared. You could see the details of the initiative corner and see when the 19th of July event happened, there was a video which was YouTubed and also the concept note in English and Hindi. We are trying to have a concept note in French as well for the French speaking countries, and possibly in a week or so we will be uploading the same here. and you could see the detail of millet mainstreaming framework. Now going back to the same, the first activity to be done is to register yourself. You could register yourself by using your existing email ID and inserting the CAPTCHA code and registering. A mail will be sent on your email ID and you could set your passwords, and that would be used as your registration email ID. But straight what we will be going to email which we have already created, and you could see we will straight go into the application to see what is there inside in terms of field that has to be filled in. So now what you could see here are the application form. Let me make it a little bigger. Thank you. So you could see 4 or 5 sections. One is on the geographic details, the second one on the application details, the third one on the basic details, the fourth one on the attachment, and the fifth one, the identifier who is submitting the form. So let us go one by one. You have to provide the name of the country. Here, an initiative could be only from one country. If it has multi-country initiative, for example, if any initiative which is being implemented in more than one country, you could just write more than one country by just putting a comma there. So one country program is eligible, more than 2 country program is also eligible. So as many countries as if you have more than one country. This interstate or union territory name, it's only applicable for Indian entries. The district name, if you have a name of the district where it is being implemented, you could do so. But if it is very macro in nature and the countrywide program, you need not to. Agroclimatic zone, the soil type, these are only for Indian entries. Average annual rainfall, average annual temperature, these are also non-mandatory in nature. The type of millet, yes, you could see what we have given as an guidance. The type of millets, you could identify any of those from 13 of these millet category. If you know any other millet category, you could also write the name of that one.
F11. F11. Function F11.
Thank you. So now we are going to come on the application details. Select type of applicant. Any entity, either government, non-government, multilateral, bilateral agencies, private or startups, FPOs, SSGs, primary agricultural cooperative society, individual or traditional and indigenous community practice. You could be coming from any of those categories. So here, let me see if ICRISAT is a multilateral agency. Let's do it like this. Select category for the application millet value chain, for example. Select millet subcategory. So these category of the application millet subcategory are coming from the analytical framework which is presented. So from the millet value chain, you could select either single category, you could select more than one category, you could select other categories as well if they're cross-cutting in nature. The only constraint here is that you cannot select millet value chain and mainstreaming dimension simultaneously. You have to choose either of one. So you have to see which particular dimension is the most preferred or the most targeted choice. And then accordingly, these are the 5 different subcategories. So let's see multi-stakeholder partnership within the And then you have to provide the name of the good practices. It is giving the title of the good practice, which is very brief, 280 characters in nature, so that it could be tweeted. So it has to be very precise. And then name of the organization. If your organization is not associated, then you have to write the name of the lead applicant. For instance, ICRISAT might be having partnership with state government, for example, or the national post government, central government, certain department, or even partnership with certain NGO. And you would like to, you could submit the category on independently as ICRISAT. You could nudge your state government or other partners so that they are the organizations, those who are the lead organization in terms of submitting. Only one disclaimer that one email ID that is registered would only be used for so only one suggestion, one email ID would be used only for one submission. So if you have to submit more than one submissions, you have to register it through different email IDs. At the same time, we are also considering if there are multiple entries coming from single organization where there is no where there is email ID, they don't need to go into that transaction. They could also send us offline application, each and every offline application, so that only one email ID would be used, so that they will be focusing on drafting the case story, and then we will try something so that it could be uploaded from our end. Then we have to provide the summary of the good practices, maximum 280 characters, pitching the good practices in 100 words, which provides the details of the problem it addresses, the solution it offers, and the impact it can create. The problem analysis, providing what problem the solution was attempting to solve, and the scale of the problem and the nature of the problem. How the solution, what was your solution, providing in maximum 200 words, how the problem was solved, and the details of the processes and approaches it uses. Who was the target population and how it benefited the most marginalized and excluded group in the last mile? What are the results and impacts of the practices, giving the scale at which the solution has been implemented and other indicators of success, and potential for upscaling and replicability, drivers of change, sharing the factors that were crucial for the success of the practice, and finally, the risks, the dilemmas, and barriers. Solution and novelty and innovativeness of the solution. So these are the few dimensions which we are trying to assess our own criteria, and those criteria are the ones which have framed these questions. You could upload one file, one PDF, maximum 1 MB limit, and you have to provide the name of email, phone number, and address of the form submits the individual or organization who is submitting the form. And finally, maybe possible that you could not submit the application in one go, so you could save draft and could come back later and submit the same. So with this, we would like to thank our presentation, complete our presentation, and open the floor for any feedback, comments, questions, which could be taken at our end. Please feel free to unmute.
Pranay, if I may come in, Pratnya this
Yes.
side. So
Yeah.
in fact, there are some questions about the jury. I think there would be some changes because there are changes in the organizations. People have left the organizations and all. So we'll revisit this shortly and up.
They could raise their hand. Send the message. You could raise your hands and we could take your question, or you could send the message, whatever way you prefer. Yes, Dr. Saket. सबको
Am I audible?
Yes, please, Dr. Saket.
Yeah, good afternoon to all. My question is around best practices around R&D. So if there are certain R&D which is sort of already established, would those be considered to be replicated, especially around recipes?
That will be considered because on the basis of R&D, you might have given some recommendations.
Yes.
So when we conduct R&D, then we came out with the recommendation, different treatments, replication, that this is the best one.
Right.
So you have not to give that treatment, experimental design, everything. But if you think that your R&D can be replicated in the some other state, some other country, you can send your entry.
Sure. Sure.
Pardon.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. I'm asking my NIC people to unmute all, if it is possible. नहीं होगा? It is not possible. They can do it. Huh? They can unmute individually. Okay.
It is possible they can unmute everybody.
Okay. That's it.
Meanwhile, we are doing so. Please feel free to raise your hand so that we could take your question.
Unmute all. Right.
Vacancy systems between these things.
Yeah. Seed system can be come in the production system, no? It will come under the production system.
For the farm inputs as well.
Or otherwise you can go in the farm input.
So Mr. Manjur, as you see, our millet mainstreaming framework and indicators which are more detailed in nature, but when you saw that online form, there are wider categories. These are only millet value chain and mainstreaming dimensions. So millet value chain within the production sub-dimension, this would fall. This would be very. This would fall in that category on the production side. And also on the R&D side, as Madam mentioned, if you feel that certain category was not there in any indicator, but please feel free to identify the sub-dimension. For instance, if the R&D is on the consumption side, if the R&D is on the processing side for any equipment, or if the R&D is on the production side in terms of seed variety, please feel free to identify a relevant category and then submit your case story. Thanks.
Some chat box. Yeah. Chat box. Yeah.
Okay. So login could be at the institutional level, and login could be at the individual level as well. So if you could identify a nodal officer who could see the entire process of submission centralized way, then one could assign the individual official in any country or any at the headquarter level or regional offices who could do the submission. And since there is only one email, one solution which could be submitted from one email ID, as we mentioned earlier, if there are multiple entries coming from one office, you could send it back on our email ID from a single nodal officer, and then we could identify, we could give you the offline questionnaire, and at the same time you could send us back. But at the same time, you could also assign an individual also who would be authorized to submit the case story on behalf of the institution.
In fact, if they are having any problem, if one login, one email, we are receiving multiple entry, then on the basis of the entry, we can make the change in the portal
Yes, sir.
also.
Yes, ma'am.
But that depends on that the number of entries that we are getting. Yeah, yeah, we can make it. That will come into the carbon.
I think so.
Dr. Kuldeep, that you have mentioned germplasm is completely missing. But germplasm, how will you scale it up? But still, if you want to have the success story on germplasm, either you can cover in the production or research or farm input. That is there. There are several indicators. These are there.
Agricultural research and extension.
Agriculture research and extension and everything. So please go through that document, detailed document, millets mainstreaming a conceptual framework. Then you will find there are several subcategories. Still, if you find that something is not covered, please let us know. We will do that change at our NIC level. There is no problem. We will do that. Okay. नहीं कोई
Yes, please, Dr. Saikar.
Yes, sir. I have a clarification. I just wanted to understand the case studies which will be submitted. It will go into the compendium. That's what I understand. Beyond that, will there be any funding support to do certain scale up or interventions? I'm not able to understand that part. If you could clarify.
In fact, this is first phase. Once we will collect the best practices, either is the package of practices or any seed component or extension component, on the basis of your expertise, then we will see their scalability with the help of ICRISAT only, and then we will think to support them. If they are through some startup or through some research project, because we are not very much willing to now allot any new research project. We are willing to scale the proven concept, proven technology, proven product, because next year we are going to celebrate. So now we don't have time to research upon 2 to 3 years. So already the proven thing, if you will submit it, then you will see the scalability and how we can support them either through some ministry's program or from Niti Aayog side, or then we will see it. Yeah.
And with Madam's permission, as we have organized our state level consultations and UT's consultation, and with the various ministries, there have been multiple requests from state government to the Niti Aayog that they would like to identify, they would like to work with proven technologies and proven scalable models. And for that, they requested Niti Aayog to provide them those solutions. So what I would say, it is completely Madam's prerogative whether to allocate resources. But here what is going to happen, the compendium of good practices, and not only the good ones, but also the ones those who have been proven, there are multiple state governments who would be taking it up in their ongoing millet missions.
Take care of these technology.
Yeah. So there lies the answer, your answer, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir. That clarifies. Thank you, sir.
Funding, may I add, Neelam?
Sir.
Apart from funding, I would like to inform all the participants, if you've done something good things, And because this compendium will go to n number of places during internship of millets, other persons might adopt these good practices, and then you should feel happy because of your contribution. Other farmers or other people have identified that thing. That is a good satisfaction also.
Sir, for your kind information, as Pranay told, sir, we had now discussion with all the state governments, sir, as you are already aware, that they are asking for the solutions of several problems. So they are very much willing to adopt sir, those solutions. So if it will come from the ICRISAT side, there are already taken. Even sir, entrepreneurs and startups, they are also looking for some technology. So we are seeing only some processing, some good product, some good variety for the production for multiplication. So sir, that we are having now several people, those who are willing to adopt our things.
Yes, and the institutions can also pitch in.
Yes,
because
sir.
it is selected by Niti Aayog. It's a good
Yes.
solution selected by high-powered committee. So because the
Yes.
state, we can pitch in from the institutional side as well.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manjur's question, can any scalable solution be replicated in other countries with similar ecology? So here, uh, what we are thinking is that we are asking solutions not only to be submitted from India, but we are all seeking solutions already existing in other parts of Africa and Asia. So here in this case, we are looking for solutions which could be replicated or scaled up or could be customized in individual geography with similar endowments. So not only India's solutions would be implemented somewhere, but some other places solutions would also be implemented in India. So it's like a learning from each other. And here in this case, scalable solution be replicated. I mean, the knowledge platform and its different pathways which we are going to take would be, once this compendium and knowledge platform exists, then it is open for everyone. Any states, any government from the south and any government from the north would be having access to these solutions, and there could be study visits, expert deployment, demonstration site, peer coaching network, policy dialogue, and technology on knowledge transfer, which will be led by our relevant ministries. And in this case, as Madam mentioned, the Ministry of External Affairs and its embassies abroad would be the venue from where the solutions for the demands of this aggregation would come to our government, either bilaterally or through individual entities beyond government entities also. So it's a wide variety of engagement which we have planned. A lot of replicability of these scalable solutions.
I just want to add a bit on this, Pranay. I think, the whole idea is basically knowledge exchange and facilitation of cooperation and support. So, depending on the interest and appetite, as I said, for any of the interested country, may it be India or outside, actually, this opens the opportunities for bilateral cooperation and support, and that support, in fact, can be mutually agreed either through cross visit or through just some capacity building sessions, or really having a kind of well designed program to support and all. So that will actually all follow. Thank you.
Question फिर से किसी ने पूछ attendees को बंद करेंगे क्या?
I think Dr. Saikat, your hand is up. Do you have another question?
Sorry, ma'am, that's the old hand. Sorry,
Okay. No worries. No.
Then we can close it.
Yeah. Please feel free to have more questions, and if you don't have, uh, mm,
Having the email contacting them.
yes, yeah. We would be in this chat box. We would be writing down our email IDs and phone numbers once again. But at the same time, on the website, if you go there on the front page, you would see our email ID, Madam Saloni's and and mine. And also, you have contact details of Madam Neelam Patel, And of course, Dr. Agarwal is in touch with each other. So if you have any questions, any concerns, please feel free to either reach to Madam Neelam Patel and or Dr. Agarwal. You could write to us, to me or Saloni. We'll be very happy to respond, and we look forward to your solutions submitted on the platform. And may I request Madam to may I request Madam Saloni to please put a vote of thanks, please.
Thank you so much, Pranay sir. I would like to thank everybody for joining. Mr. Sanjay Agarwal sir, thank you so much for all your support for informing everybody from ICRISAT for joining this workshop today. We look forward to your continued support and for inviting a lot of entries via ICRISAT. And I hope that today's workshop, by this workshop, we have been able to disseminate the information about the MEJP initiative to the maximum extent possible. And in case anybody still has any doubts, please feel free to reach out to me or Mr. Pranay Sinha. Our contact details are there on the web portal. There's a user manual as well on the web portal to help you out with the registration, login process, and as well as in case you forget your password, what to do. The whole details of the initiative are there on the web portal. My contact details of Mr. Pranay Sinha are there on the web portal as well. So please feel free to contact us in case of any support. Thank you so much, and look forward to your continued support, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay sir. Once again, sir, we need your support and help, and also partnership in the knowledge platform and everything, sir.
Thank you. You can talk to a telephone after 15 minutes or so. It's convenient.
Okay, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.